Hi, Sally. Thank you for having given me this opportunity to actually share what it was like this part of my journey with you. So my name's Tracy. I live in Auckland, and I'm on a bit of a growth journey. And along that growth journey, I met Sally. I've done some pretty amazing courses online with coaches in America like Mel Robbins and Brendan Burchard, which were a good part of my journey, but I felt at the time that I needed some one-on-one and some accountability. So I did a Google, as you do these days, and I think I had a phone call initially with Sally, and what really struck me was her energy and the warmth. And I was quite shy and unsure of what coaching was, and not sure if I wanted to invest the time and the money into it. But something about you, Sally, actually, I don't know, it let me lower my guard and go, okay, I'm going to give this a go. And I'm really glad that I did. And the one-on-one coaching that I initially started with was important for me at the time, because I needed that. I needed to be able to have some reframe, some refocusing, some identification of what my dreams and goals were, and actually say it out loud to somebody else rather than typing it out. Actually share that with another human was really important to me. And to get the feedback, obviously, and also to identify my strengths, which kind of confirmed that I was going in the right direction, also really important. The other thing that was beneficial and important to me was the accountability. So every week that I had a session with Sally, she'd gently ask me, so how did you get on with blah, 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 blah? And just that little gentle push was enough to keep me moving forward. I've continued on with Sally and have done some group courses, and they're also beneficial. And that it's, again, the accountability every week. I'm sharing my journey and learning from the other people in the journey moving forward. There's a community where it's safe, like-minded people, and it's surprising what comes back to you in those situations. So I highly recommend that. And it's also about, as a human, we want to attach and connect, and our life is around relationships. So sharing my journey, my struggles, my wins, my not so wins is all, it's all part of the learning experience and being a human, I think. Yeah. So that's how I first how I got involved with Sally. Yeah, and I really recommend coaching as a way of moving forward. And I think it's all very well to read a book. You can learn from that, and I think you can also do amazing online courses, and there's apps, and I think you can also learn from that. But there's something about, there's a next level when it's a shared experience, and it's, even if it's just one-on-one or whether it's a group, it makes it more real.
Yeah. And I love that. In fact, for those of you who won't be aware, Tracy said we had a chat. She was Googling online. We had a chat. We said, yeah, actually, Tracy went, actually, I think you will be here to help me. And then I did a free challenge. And I said, come on, Tracy, come and enjoy the free challenge. That's so right, that you can get a taster of what you're actually going to get. And we actually covered the same content, but obviously at a deeper level when we did it one-on-one. Just out of interest, how did you find that challenge? Did it help you to, I mean, what did you get out of that? Can you remember?
I think it was an opening to a community. I think that challenge, and it's sort of like repetition and reinforcement of the work that we were doing. And I also tried to encourage some friends to come along as well into the challenge. Yeah, I think that opened up that. There was two ways of doing it. One was the one-on-one coaching, but there's also doing it in a group. Mm-hmm. And doing it in a group was more affordable as well. So you can still get the same benefit and additional benefits by doing it that way.
Yeah. And it's interesting, obviously, we're going to go into conference in February, which is all about everyone together. I'm so excited, which is what this is all about. It's like, what next for people? But before we get to kind of conference, because I know that's going to come, I know that's going to be exciting for people. So I'd forgotten when you just first started talking how quiet you were and how almost like you were hidden behind a wall, like you were very guarded in what you shared and who you were, and you didn't want people to know your business. You didn't want you had a lot of stuff. Like there was this beautiful surface of Tracy, who we saw straight away. I also saw your massive heart straight away, and I think I was like, oh yeah, this woman's gold. But there was just like all of us, we carry baggage that we don't realize we're carrying, but we don't want anyone to see it. It's like we don't want to have to get our dirty washing out in public. You know, there's that, oh golly, you know, we just want everything to be beautiful. And I kind of remember when I first met you that you'd just got this rucksack on your back, and it was like it was full of bricks. And it was just stuff. It was just stuff. It didn't belong to you. You were carrying it, but it actually didn't belong to you anymore. And I'd forgotten how weighted down you were. I'd forgotten how quiet you were. Just until you mentioned it now, and I was like, oh my goodness. And the reason I've forgotten is because we've been hanging out for about 6 months together, and you are so on fire. You know, you're launching a new business. You're thriving in the business you've got. Like you're for all intents and purposes, you're a different woman right now. Sitting in front of me.
I feel like it's sort of like a culmination of all the work that I've done and the time that I've spent that I can let some of my guards down around just being me, like being more me and being not afraid to share who I am, you know. And I think that's it's definitely, it's a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah,
I need to be so concerned about others' opinions of me, which I think has been something that has weighed me through my life, and I'm like slowly shedding that old shell, and it's great. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so exciting. And as you say, it's a culmination. All of our lives have brought us to such a point as this. All the work that you've been doing with Mel Robbins, all the work you've been doing with Brendan Burchard, you know, and then it all started to come together. Like, and again, you Toastmasters, like you've been, you know, that was, I mean, look at that. Was like, oh my goodness, you were right at the beginning of that journey when we started. Oh, and look at me. I'm now vice president, just quietly. I've done the speech. I'm rocking it. It's like, wow, wow, wow. You know, it's just such a different person. What would you say have been the biggest? I mean, you've shared accountability was one of them. You just shared that. And being able to come as a human being into a space to talk to other human beings and share the highs and the lows and get other people's wisdom, and being accountable every week, having to do something rather than sit and talk about it all the time, because we can have What would you say to people that you have found most beneficial? Because when we come into what next, this is about, well, is there someone else out there who would find this beneficial too? What is it for you?
For me, it's working out what my zone is and sticking in my zone. That was a really valuable lesson. So I don't need to worry about this out here that's not my strength, that's not my stuff. This is my zone, what I'm good at. So actually, I kind of didn't know what it was, but it's having someone back that up, and that gave me confidence and strength that, okay, where I'm heading is right for me, and that stuff it's not my business. This is where I am, and that made a huge difference. I think, yes, the accountability makes a big difference to me. The morning routine and the evening routine, having that in my life as a game changer. And that's something I learned from you, Sally, not from anyone else, is breaking that down into 3 things, those repetition and action of the 3 things, because I'm very easy to be overwhelmed and wanting to go left, right, and ding, 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 ding. But actually having, you know, it's like routine, the discipline and the learning that this is where I'm staying, and I'm doing that every day, and I'm making steps. So that was also really important for me. Out of the group situation, being vulnerable. So it's beautiful how people in our group can actually share the highs and the lows, but also like, oh, I'm a bit embarrassed that I thought this, or I did this, or I feel ashamed around this, or I'm really happy and I did this. All these things are it affects me, and I learn from it, and I feel safe, and it allows me to grow. So that's another something I learned and got out of it. And a clarification early on, a clarification of my goals and dreams. That really helped. Like, I had them, but then saying it out loud and repeating it a few times and writing it down and having it in the forefront of my brain and my life, and believing it, like, oh my God, I can actually make this come true. I can do this. That's gold. Yeah. As you say, that's gold.
I'm sitting here beaming, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you're like, that is exactly where you are right now. You are living what you wrote down right at the beginning and said, this is when the fog started to clear, and you started to realize who you are, what you're called to do. And that, as you say, all the other lanes are none of your business. You just got to do your lane and your thing in your zone of genius and your field of favor. And I'm like, wow, because now that's exactly what you're doing. You're walking in that. And it's really interesting where you picked up on the vulnerability of people, and being, and all I got in my head as you were speaking just now was out of the darkness and into the light. When we have somewhere safe, which is another thing that you shared, to be able to share what actually is really uncomfortable for us, or we feel shameful, or we feel guilty, whatever it is that is just like so doesn't belong to us. But that's like those are like the bricks that we just threw out the rucksack, like, no, not mine anymore, no, not mine anymore. And so no one has to air anything, but by just speaking it out in a safe space, it was gone. And I think that's been the beauty and so many people, like, it's a small group that we've had, and everyone has shared, and then somebody else will go, oh my goodness, I totally get that. Like, all of a sudden, instead of carrying this stuff behind closed doors, feeling you're the only person on the planet who's ever done something bad, or guilty, or shame, or anxiety, or whatever it is, and going, oh my goodness, I'm actually a human being. Like, there are other people in the room, and as we share it, it releases it, not just for you, but for the other people in the room, which is exactly what you said. You're like, oh my goodness, every week I learned something, just gold.
Yeah, I also think that in our group there's I think there's about 4 small business entrepreneurs, well, and you, Sally, and just having someone to sort of like share like some of the disappointments or surprises or little hurdles, but taking action and stepping, and that's helpful. That's really helpful.
And I think that's just it, though, isn't it? It's finding our tribe. It's finding people who get what we're going through and being with them, but being with each other on the journey. And it's so interesting, because those that aren't entrepreneurs yet have got an entrepreneurial mindset. So I can do mindset. How am I going to do this? How am I going to move this forward?
Yeah, and for others in our group that aren't entrepreneurial, they're changing jobs, they're doing all sorts of other things that is also sort of on the edge, facing fears and making big sort of growth changes, and being there with them is also quite special as they go through it.
And what's super cool,
it's inspirational.
I don't need to say any more, do I? That's super cool. But what's even more cool is all of you have put your hand up to say, actually, we're happy to share our story, because we don't want people to be where we were. We want people to come on the journey with us and be where we are now and go further. So if you had to describe where you were for people who are looking at you now going, golly, this lady's got it all together. She's like, oh, for awesome. She's like amazing, where were you and where are you now? Because I think that's for people to understand where you were, what was impossible for you, and what we've made possible in this short time.
I think I was a bit stuck a little stuck in the rut and not kind of like, even though I was sort of on my journey and educating myself and growing, I just felt a little bit stuck on the steps that I needed to take forward, and a little unsure about my ability to step forward. And I think that that's what the coaching did for me. It sort of reframed things, it identified my strengths, it backed up where I thought I was going. You kind of gave me the tip, yes, Tracy, this is your strength and that's the right direction for you. Yes. And it just that means that it actually affects you on so many levels when someone's got your back and is like cheering you on. How could you not move forward with that? And, yeah, I didn't even know to be honest, I didn't really know what coaching was. I was like, oh, well, I guess I could give that a go. I don't really know what it is. Like, do they tell me what to do every week? Do I have homework? I didn't really know. Just like, had no idea. And I was like, but it sounds like she sounds nice. And yeah, I think I'll give it a go. So I highly recommend anyone that's sort of sitting on that fence and unsure. You've got nothing to lose. You've got everything to gain.
So with that, I'm just cracking up. Do you know what I Googled yesterday? How many coaches there are? There used to be 47,500 before COVID. There's now 71,000 coaches across the world. And you go, well, what do they do? Like, how does it work? So interestingly enough, I'm going to ask you a question because you just said, oh my goodness, is it like you just get told what to do like you do at school? It's like, I couldn't think of anything worse. Do I have homework? It sounds like, it's like, oh my goodness, do coaches, are they just like teachers? What's the score? So just out of interest, I'm going to ask you a kind of curly one, but, did I just tell you what to do? What was the difference? What's the difference between school? Because I think that's the only coaching or teaching we've ever had.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that experience? How did it work for you?
You're asking questions. You're asking me about myself, really, and helping me to identify maybe what was a bit grey or unclear, and making it with my answers and the way that you kind of mirrored them back to me, possibly a little reframing going on there. Yeah, that's how it's been different. So you haven't been telling me what to do. You've asked me questions and you've guided me and reframed and mirrored things back in a way that, in a positive growth mindset way. Yeah.
And I think what's beautiful, you've shared all the way through this, is you knew on the inside, you knew that you kind of knew who you were, but it wasn't out. It wasn't out there. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, this is who I am. You just kind of had this, you knew it, but you didn't have it clear, if that makes sense. And the way that you've just described it now is like, it's literally, I love coaching. And the reason I love coaching is because I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, because I can see all the gold. And you're right. So you might share something and I'll just slightly move it in a different direction or just reframe but they're your words because you know exactly. And it's like, wow. And it's just once it's out, you can work with it. And then you go, oh, I just need to move this 1 degree, or I just need to do this 1 degree change, and it will come. And it has been such a joy to see your growth and just see you zooming. And I'm so excited about what's to come in 2023. So coaching work for you, where are you going from here so that people can go, oh my goodness, that's where I was. I was worried. I didn't know what it was like. Didn't know what coaching was about. Not really sure. I know I've got something, but I'm not sure what it is. What have you got out of it? Where are you off to now? So where did it take you to?
So all of that, when I identified my goals and dreams, I was really re-identifying them, but actually like sharing them out loud and then going, oh, actually, this can happen. And for me, I've had a childhood dream of where I've always wanted to make product and sell. And I started off doing that as a child. I'd unfortunately for my mother, stole her lipsticks and eyeshadows and did some paintings and went around the neighborhood and sold them. Some neighbors were like, I don't think so, but others bought them. I made 5 cents. So I've had that with me my whole life. I've worked in a creative field for 30 years, doing different sort of roles in it: a fashion editor, stylist, hair and makeup artist, props, interior stylist. But it has, even though that's creative, it's not really my dream, like my deep down dream from childhood, which is to make beautiful products and sell them. And so I've started a company called Nestled, and I'm about to sample my first product. So that's, it's step by step, this sort of like childhood dream. I can say it out loud and it's coming to fruition, and it's exciting. Yeah. And I don't think without coaching that I would have had the courage and the focus, I think.
Oh, I'm just super excited. And we're praying that by February, we will actually be able to share some of Tracy's product at conference, because the what next, it's all about growing. It's all about learning. It's all about stepping out and doing that first step. So we're super excited that we will be able to offer her product at conference, both online and, at live. But Tracy, now tell me why you're not going to be at conference, because you're actually not going to be there, because I think, if I remember rightly, you're going to be living a dream. What was the dream? What's happened? What are you going to be doing? And how long have you dreamt about doing this?
I think it's about 10 years, and my dream has been to go to Japan and go skiing. And I've got close in the past, but then COVID hit, or financially I couldn't do it. And I said to Sally, I don't think I'm going to make that goal this year because Japan's locked down. And then about 3 days later, the borders opened, and I booked the tickets, I booked the accommodation, and we're going. So unfortunately, I won't be at the conference in February, but I'm living my dream. Sorry.
What? That's exactly, we shouldn't have, if people are living their dreams, that's what we're meant to be doing. That's the whole point of this, is that we're living in the way that life is meant to be for us. And the beauty of each one of you that has said yes to sharing your story in January is that not one of you are doing the same thing. And that's what I love, because actually we're all uniquely designed to be brilliant. And part of your passion, I love it, like 10 years you've waited, and a childhood dream is now coming to fruition. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And maybe philosophically, maybe this is the best time for me to actually be fulfilling that childhood dream, because of all the growth work that I've done, combined with my creative background. I'm aiming to make products that actually bring more than just a product to someone. It brings joy and hope and love and compassion and kindness. So there's more to it, and I wouldn't have been able to do that as a younger person. So I think this is my time.
And the lovely quote that I have, he's prepared every single one of us for such a time as this. And I honestly believe that it's your time right now. And it is, because you're going to go and do your childhood dream, and you're going skiing, and, there's more and there's more and there's more to come, because this is just the starting point of opening up those doors. But I also think it's the same for many. I'm seeing over and over and over again, every part of our journey that got us to here. Like you say, you wouldn't have been mentally prepared or physically prepared or in a position to have the finance to do what you're doing, or whatever the score is. But now is the time, and it's the time for many. So I just encourage anyone who is listening to this, if you're having second thoughts, if you're having doubts, in fact, I'm going to let Tracy wrap this up, because I really encourage you to come and just join us online for 24 hours. Come and see what we do. Come and see, taste and see that you can have it too. But Tracy, what would you say to anyone who was sitting where you were, and they've got the opportunity to come and see what we do and who we work with? Because it's a whole crew. It's not just me. It's a crew of amazing people. What would you say to them?
It's a beautiful, safe growth space. And I think that entering that, you'll just feel safe and loved. Yeah, safe and loved. Yeah. And supported. Yeah, supported.
Oh my goodness, Tracy, thank you for being with us.